form the product from the reactant completely according to the balance equation.
No, it is not according to the equation, balanced equation, no. Suppose I am taking this reaction and 2 plus 3H2 gives 2 ammonia. Okay, sorry. I think it's visible now.
Yes, sir.
Suppose I am taking this equation and whatever is given that for this delta H0 reaction is X kilojoules. What is the value of delta H0 formation? Is it same as X? Is it equal to X? Himanshu, you have done the paper very well. And a few students I can see from their paper that they have done on their own. So a teacher can, even if we are giving you the marks for copying from net, but we can judge from whatever you are writing whether you have done the paper on your own or not. And a number of students, they have done really well. Himanshu is one of them. Few others have got very good marks. I have given good 2, 3, 4 students in between the questions also. Okay, is delta notch F enthalpy of formation same as X? Yes or no? Can anyone tell me? No one? See, enthalpy of formation means when 1 mole of a compound. Enthalpy of formation is for 1 mole of a compound from its element. 1 mole of a compound is formed from its elements. That is called as delta H0 F. So what will be the enthalpy of formation in this case? Lakshay? What will be the enthalpy of formation in this particular case? Yes, Lakshay, waiting for a response. Bhavya Bhardwaj.
Can you please repeat?
My question is that enthalpy of formation is the energy change when 1 mole of a compound is formed from its elements in the standard state. Now, question is that for this reaction, you have to calculate the enthalpy of formation. You are given this particular reaction, and for this particular reaction, enthalpy change for the reaction is suppose X kilojoules. So what will be the enthalpy of formation of ammonia for the from the above? What will be the enthalpy of formation? Zero क्यों होगा?
मैम क्योंकि जो N2 और H2 है ये तो अपने स्टैंडर्ड स्टेट में और मैम आई थिंक स्टैंडर्ड स्टेट में तो एंथैल्पी ऑफ फॉर्मेशन 0 ही होती है.
नहीं वो तो एलिमेंट की होती है ना. आई एम आस्किंग द एंथैल्पी ऑफ फॉर्मेशन ऑफ अमोनिया. माय क्वेश्चन इज व्हाट इज एंथैल्पी ऑफ फॉर्मेशन ऑफ अमोनिया? Enthalpy of formation means when 1 mole of a compound is formed from its elements. Okay, let me tell you. यहाँ पर इस equation में according to the balanced equation, how many moles of ammonia we are getting? 2 moles. So it means this is the enthalpy for the reaction when 2 moles of ammonia are formed from its elements. So what will be the enthalpy change for 1 mole? X by 2. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, now suppose I am giving you this reaction. I am taking basically today revision only. Now for this delta H0 is suppose Z. Now what is the delta H0 formation of water?
Z by 2.
Z by 2. No, it's not Z. Minus Z by 2. Why? Because in this water is converting it to its element. But what we have to find out for this reaction when 1 mole of water is formed from its elements. That will be the enthalpy of formation. So it means for 1 mole we have to divide by 2. and we are reversing the equation. So when we are reversing the equation, the sign of delta H will be reversed. Okay. Now my question is, what is delta H naught formation of O2? O2 gas. If we are forming an element in its standard state, what will be its delta H naught formation?
0.
0. Enthalpy change for formation of an element, because element are those which are occurring in nature. So if we are taking an element in its standard state, its delta naught formation is always equal to 0. Okay, so whether it is oxygen, nitrogen, hydrogen, carbon, if it is in its standard state, if I am taking carbon in the form of graphite, so its delta H naught formation will be equal to 0. So one of the topic we have done is the delta H naught formation. Another topic we have done is the Hess's law. What is the Hess's law of constant heat summation?
Ma'am, may I?
Yes.
Ma'am, energy change for a reaction remains same whether the reaction takes place in one step or a number of steps.
Yes. The enthalpy change for a reaction remains same whether the reaction takes place in one step or in a number of steps. And that is a very important concept, because we have done a number of questions that was based on the Hess's law only. Okay. Now another thing regarding the Hess's. Okay. Then we have done a number of definitions like enthalpy of combustion. What is the meaning of enthalpy of combustion?
Amount of energy released or evolved when one mole of substance is burned completely in oxygen.
Sufficient to produce CO2 and H2O.
Yes, it is the energy released when one mole of a substance is completely burnt in the presence of oxygen. Okay, what is the meaning of hydration enthalpy? What is the meaning of hydration enthalpy?
Is the energy required to react to one mole of water?
Yes, when a substance, suppose we are taking any substance, suppose I am taking lithium gases, and it is converted into lithium ions, it is converted into aqueous solution. So when one mole of a substance or an ion is converted into its aqueous form. And generally for hydration enthalpy, we take the ions in the gaseous state. Okay, and it is the energy released. Hydration enthalpy is always the energy released. If I am converting sodium ions gases into sodium ions aqueous, then again delta H hydration is equal to negative. So it is the energy released. Okay, when one mole of a isolated gaseous ions, when one mole of isolated gaseous ions are converted into aqueous ions. Okay, when one mole of a isolated gaseous.
Yes. Could you repeat once again?
Pardon? Can you repeat the question?
Once again.
समझ नहीं आ रहा बेटा.
मैम एक बार और फिर से बोल दो मैम. Hydration enthalpy.
Yes, a hydration enthalpy is the energy released. It is the energy released when one mole of isolated gaseous ions are converted into aqueous ions. When one mole of isolated gaseous ions are converted into aqueous ions. Okay, like if I am taking lithium ions 1 mole and they are converted into lithium aqueous ions, obviously they combine with water. Okay, sodium gaseous ions, if they are converting into sodium aqueous ions, then the energy released is called as hydration enthalpy. Okay, what is the meaning of sublimation energy? What is the meaning of delta S sublimation?
Energy required to change
energy
one mole of
convert one mole
ions
into one mole of gas.
one mole of a solid is converted directly into its gaseous ions, then the energy released is energy required. Okay? Sublimation energy is always positive. When one mole of a solid is directly converted into its gaseous form, gaseous atoms. Okay. Then what is the meaning of lattice enthalpy? Now the thing, lattice enthalpy is for ionic compounds. ठीक है, आपकी दो एनर्जीज होती है, एक होता है बॉन्ड एनर्जी. बॉन्ड एनर्जी जनरली फॉर अ कोवेलेंट कंपाउंड. Bond energy is for a covalent compound, but lattice enthalpy is for ionic compounds. So when if I am taking is NaCl, that is solid, and all the bonds are broken, and what we are getting it into sodium ions and chloride ions. Ionic compound means it consists of ions. So when one mole of a solid is converted into its ions, the energy required, bond break कर रहे हैं तो energy will be required. It is called as lattice enthalpy. So when one mole of an ionic compound is converted into its ions. Okay, now suppose I am taking the reverse reaction. Is this also the lattice enthalpy? When one mole of an solid, ionic solid is formed from its ion. Is it also the lattice enthalpy? Yes or no? Yes. Both of them are lattice enthalpy. The only difference, अगर ये plus x होगा, so it will be minus x. So if a solid is, if a bonds are broken, okay, during bond breaking always the energy is required. So if I am breaking one mole of bonds to convert into gaseous ions, it is called as positive. It is the energy required. But if they are combining to form this, then it is again called as lattice enthalpy, but it is the energy released. So you can write any of the definition. Either you can write it is the energy. Yes.
Ma'am, why is in lattice enthalpy the products are formed or in gaseous form?
Because it is for an ionic compound. अच्छा एक मिनट, just wait. इसको atoms में करो. No, you are correct. Ions में नहीं होगा, sorry. ठीक है. और इसको you have to write it as half Cl2. This was my mistake. Okay, so when one mole of a solid is broken into its constituent ionic solid into its constituent elements, so it is called as delta H lattice. Ions में convert नहीं होगा, ions में it will be next step. That will be
ionic bonds तो बनते हैं ions से, तो ions
If you just wait. Let me please confirm it. Otherwise, just wait. Let me confirm it. नहीं, ions में ही है, sorry. Ions में ही है. I was just checking the NCERT because I was getting confused. It is in the ions only. Now tell me. Because beta, now the reason is because NaCl is an ionic solid, so there are strong electrostatic forces of attraction between the sodium ions and chloride ions. Okay, so when this bond is broken down, then what we are getting are the ions only. So a lattice enthalpy is only for ionic compounds, and what we are getting are the ions. Is it okay? So it is energy change.
Does it have sublimation too?
No, sublimation is different. Sublimation means we are not converting into ions. Sublimation means when one mole of a solid is converted into its gaseous atoms. Sublimation means what we are getting are atoms. But in this case, what we are getting are the ions. And this is only for an ionic compound. Sublimation का मतलब होता है
why the ions are in gaseous forms?
क्योंकि बेटा ionic compound है ना. Ionic compound are those which consist of ions only. NaCl does not consist of atoms. See, sublimation ka, let me take one more example of sublimation so that it will be more clear to you. Like what we are taking is naphthalene. We say that naphthalene sublimes. Now, naphthalene means solid is converted into naphthalene vapors. Naphthalene solid is converted into naphthalene vapors. That is called as delta S sublimation. So it can be any compound. It can be even a solid like carbon solid, charcoal, graphite solid is converting into its atoms. So it can be any compound or any element, but if it is in the solid state. Okay, तो ये जरूरी नहीं है कि एलिमेंट ही हो, लेकिन जब हम लैटिस एंथैल्पी की बात करते हैं, लैटिस एंथैल्पी is only for ionic compounds, and ionic compounds are those which consist of ions. So if I am seeing the structure of NaCl, it consists of sodium ions and chloride ions, which are held together by strong ionic bonds. So if obviously we are breaking an ionic compound which consists of ions, what we are getting are ions only. It does not consist of sodium atoms and chlorine atoms. Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is the meaning of bond energy? What is the difference between bond enthalpy and lattice energy? If I am
Bond is for covalent bonds and lattice is for ionic compounds.
If I am converting chlorine gas, that is a covalent compound. We know that chlorine is a covalent compound. So if we are taking 1 mole of chlorine and we are converting it to its gaseous atom, then it is called as bond energy or bond enthalpy. And during bond breaking, energy is released or absorbed. During bond breaking, energy is released or absorbed.
Ma'am, release.
Energy is released.
अच्छा, आप किसी चीज को ब्रेक कर रहे हो, अगर मैं इस ब्लैक बोर्ड को तोड़ना चाह रही हूँ, तो इट विल आई एम गिविंग इट एनर्जी ना. If I want to break anything, I am supplying energy. It means energy is absorbed. यहाँ पर भी तो मैंने आपको यही बताया था. If I am breaking NaCl into its ions, then the energy is absorbed, positive. During bond breaking, energy is always absorbed. And during bond formation, this is a, ये तो बिल्कुल बेटा basic था. During bond formation, energy is released. And during bond breaking, energy is absorbed. Is the point clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So bond enthalpy means when 1 mole of a covalent compound is broken into its constituent atoms. That is called as bond enthalpy. So there are few terms. Okay, one term is enthalpy of solution. In NCERT, one more term is given, that is enthalpy of solution. Okay, I am just rubbing it. Okay, delta H solution. तो आज आपको थोड़ा सा करा के सारी डेफिनेशंस रीकैप करा के, then I will be taking more numericals based on the Hess's law tomorrow, because we have to do the bond-Haber cycle, and for this all these terms should be clear to you. Okay. Now delta S solution means enthalpy of solution. It is the energy change. It is the energy change when 1 mole of a substance is completely dissolved when 1 mole of a substance is dissolved completely in a specified amount of a solvent. Suppose I am taking 1 mole of glucose and I am dissolving it in the solvent, then it is called as delta H solution. And now delta H solution, it depends if the reaction can be endothermic, it can be exothermic. So delta H solution can either be positive or it can be negative. Okay.
Ma'am, what is the name?
Yes.
What is the name of this energy?
Delta H solution. Enthalpy. Delta H means enthalpy of solution. When 1 mole of a substance is completely dissolved in a specific amount of the solvent. That is called as delta H solution.
हमें डिसोसिएशन एंथैल्पी भी बोल सकते हैं.
No. Okay. See, just see here. I have told you the meaning of lattice enthalpy. What is lattice enthalpy? When one mole of a substance is converted into its gaseous ion. This is for ionic compound. Okay, this is for ionic compound. Okay. Now suppose I am dissolving 1 mole of glucose. One mole of glucose means C6H12O6 solid. I am dissolving it in enough water, and what I am getting is the glucose solution. So for this, the energy change. It can be positive or it can be negative. It is called as delta H solution. Similarly, if I am taking this 1 mole of NaCl and I am dissolving it in water, and what we are getting, NaCl is an ionic compound. ये तो आपको covalent है glucose, but NaCl, what happens to the ionic compound when they are dissolved in water? They convert it. This all of you know. Ionic compounds conduct electricity because they convert into ions. So what we are getting is sodium ions aqueous and chloride ions aqueous. And the energy change for this is also called as delta H solution. Okay.
मैम यहाँ पे हम सॉल्वेंट हमेशा वाटर को ही लेंगे.
Generally it is water, but it can be alcohol also. Commonly, in 90% of the cases, solvent is water, but it can be alcohol, it can be benzene, it can be ether also.
मैम बट वाटर के केस में तो जो डेल्टा एच ऑफ सॉल्यूशन फिर डेल्टा एच ऑफ हाइड्रेशन के इक्वल हो जाएगा ना अगर वाटर लेंगे सॉल्वेंट तो.
Yes. What is the meaning of delta H hydration?
Ma'am, when 1 mole of isolated gaseous ions are converted into aqueous ions.
So is it same as delta H hydration? ये देखो मैं दोबारा बता रही हूँ delta H hydration का क्या मतलब था? When 1 mole of a, suppose हमने सोडियम आयन से ये बना दिया. What is this called as? Can you read out the definition of delta H hydration?
Yes, ma'am.
Just read out the definition if you have written.
When one mole of
mole of
isolated gaseous ions are converted into aqueous ions.
So is it same as delta H hydration? Delta H hydration means when 1 mole of gaseous ions are converted into aqueous ions. So this is called as delta H hydration. Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So the difference between these terms should be very much clear to you. Solution means even it can be an ionic compound or a covalent compound. So when 1 mole of it is dissolved, to convert, agar ionic hai, to obviously it will convert into aqueous ions. Covalent hai, to it will simply dissolve, and what we are getting is an aqueous solution. Okay. Lattice enthalpy is only for ionic compound. So when 1 mole of ionic compound is broken into its gaseous ions, if we are getting the lattice enthalpy. Hydration enthalpy means when 1 mole of gaseous ions are hydrated to form aqueous ions, and it is the energy released. So this is called as hydration enthalpy. So I hope the difference between these 3 terms is clear to you. Yes or no? Just go through them because this is very much important. यही मैंने recap दोबारा कराना था आज. Then only I can proceed with the further questions. And if the definitions are clear, only then you can form an equation. Okay. So now I am taking a small numerical based on all this. And according to Hess's law, the enthalpy change for a reaction remains same, whether the reaction takes place in one step or in a number of steps. Okay. Now my question is, calculate in delta H solution of AB, you are given a solid and you have to calculate this delta H solution given lattice enthalpy of AB is plus 120 kilojoules per mole. Delta H hydration of A plus ions is equal to minus 200 delta H hydration of B minus A plus gases. Hydration is always for gaseous ions. This is my question. You have to calculate delta H solution of a AB solid given lattice enthalpy. So what is AB? AB is an ionic compound or a covalent compound?
Ionic.
Ionic.
Because what we are given is the lattice enthalpy. So it shows that AB is a ionic compound. So it means that for the delta solution means when 1 mole of AB solid and we are adding is enough solvent or water, aqueous दे रखा है, hydration on the aqueous है, and what we are getting are the ionic, है ना? Since it is an ionic solid, so it means what we are getting are the aqueous ions. So we have to calculate delta H for this. This is what we have to calculate. Okay. Now what we are given are the delta lattice enthalpy of AB. What is the meaning of lattice enthalpy of AB? What is the meaning of lattice enthalpy?
Energy required to convert ionic compound into a gaseous ions.
And this is the lattice enthalpy when 1 mole of an ionic compound is converted into its gaseous ion. When it equation C you have to form on your own. और एक बार आपको equations बनानी आ गई ना तो chapter आपका 50% automatically हो जाता है. So AB solid is converted. This is the meaning of delta H hydration enthalpy means when 1 mole of an ionic solid is converted into its gaseous ions, and for this the delta H lattice, it is given to us as plus 120 kilojoules. Plus 120 kilojoules. This is given to us. Now another thing what we are given is the delta H hydration. Hydration means AB when it is A plus gaseous ions are converting into A plus aqueous ions. Hydration means, this is the meaning of hydration. When 1 mole of a gaseous ions are converted into aqueous ions, then it is the energy release. Hydration is always the energy release. So for this, the delta H hydration is equal to minus 200 kilojoules. And in the second case for B minus gaseous, when they are converted into B minus aqueous. So delta H hydration is equal to 150. ये दोनों चैप्टर जो आपके इक्विलिब्रियम है, थर्मोडायनामिक्स, these are very much important from your competition point of view also. Okay, so using these 3 equations, you have to calculate for the above. How can you get the above equation from these 2? From these 3 equations, how can we get the above equation? यहाँ पर मेरे को A भी चाहिए solid, यहाँ पर है equation first. अब यहाँ पर मेरे को A plus aqueous चाहिए. A plus aqueous are given in equation second. और यहाँ पे देखो दोनों सेम साइड पर है, तो अगर सेम साइड पर होते तो आई कैन एड इट. ठीक है, तो प्लस इक्वेशन सेकेंड प्लस यहाँ पर B माइनस प्रोडक्ट्स में भी, यहाँ पर भी प्रोडक्ट्स में भी, प्लस इक्वेशन थर्ड. सो इफ आई एम एडिंग द 3 इक्वेशंस, add means reactants I am adding, products I am adding. So if I am adding the reactants of these 3 equations, what we are getting is that always do starting में practice step wise कर लो, बाद में MCQ में you can do directly. A plus gaseous plus B minus gaseous. So I am adding the reactants. Then I am adding the products. What we are getting is A plus gas plus B minus gas. इसके हो गए plus A plus aqueous plus third का B minus aqueous. And the same treatment, since we are adding to their delta H, I am also adding. So delta H is equal to 120 minus 200 minus 150. Now you are seeing that here on this equation. How will we solve the equation? यहाँ reactant side है A plus gaseous, यहाँ पे product side है B minus gaseous, B minus gaseous. So they will get cancelled. So the overall equation that I am getting is AB solid gives A plus aqueous plus B minus aqueous. This is what we want. And for this, what is the delta solution? You get minus 350.
Minus 230.
Minus 230.
Minus 230 kilojoules per mole. Okay, so this is an application of the Hess's law. I think Hess's law I have dictated to you, yes or no?
Yes.
Earlier. So this is one of the application of Hess's law, that is to calculate enthalpy of solution. Because there are certain reactions whose enthalpy we cannot calculate directly. So that is done by an indirect method. Like if I have to calculate enthalpy of solution of an ionic solid, I should be knowing the hydration enthalpy and the lattice enthalpy, we can calculate it. So one of the application of Hess's law is to calculate enthalpy of solution. Question can come, what are the applications of Hess's law? To calculate enthalpy of solution. Okay. Now my another question is, second application is to calculate. Okay, if I am converting one form into another, suppose I am converting diamond graphite into diamond carbon. What is this called as?
Ma'am, please repeat the question.
Pardon? अगर मैं कार्बन से डायमंड से ग्रेफाइट है, ग्रेफाइट से डायमंड बनाऊंगी, क्या बोलते हैं इसको? What is diamond and graphite? These are the allotropes of carbon.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
To calculate the enthalpy changes of allotropic transitions, when one allotrop is converted into another. Entropic transition means when one allotrop is converted into another. Let me check if there is an example from NCERT. I will take that. जैसे ये क्वेश्चन मैंने NCERT को ही modify करके I have taken. Okay, I am forming a question on my own. Now my question is, calculate delta H for the reaction.
Ma'am.
Yes.
मैम लाइक मैम जो कार्बन के कंपाउंड्स है, जो एलोट्रोप्स है, ग्रेफाइट एंड कोल एंड डायमंड, तो मैम इसमें जो ग्रेफाइट और कोल है तो इनकी हम जो डेल्टा एच है वो 0 ही लेंगे ना, क्योंकि वो तो अपने स्टैंडर्ड स्टेट में ही है.
स्टैंडर्ड स्टेट कार्बन का हम ग्रेफाइट लेते हैं, नॉट डायमंड. डायमंड इज formed from graphite in certain special conditions. For carbon, the standard state is taken as graphite. Most stable state है जिसमें वो nature
graphite most abundant है.
Abundant है, yes. Carbon diamond में तो बहुत special conditions में convert हो जाते हैं at high temperature and high pressure. But the standard state of carbon is graphite. Okay. Now my question is, you have to calculate the delta H for this reaction. Given, now all the data I am giving the hypothetical data. This is not the actual data. Given enthalpy of combustion given enthalpy of combustion of phosphorus black is minus 250 kilojoules per mole and delta H combustion of phosphorus red is minus 300 kilojoules per mole. This is my question. Again, as I have told you, the formation of equations is the most important step. So enthalpy of combustion of phosphorus black, what will be the equation?
P4 plus O2.
Phosphorus plus O2 and what we get? अच्छा अगर आपको लग रहा है should I change the question or will you do? सल्फर कर दो इसको और you सल्फर अगर होता तो easy हो जाता equation सल्फर plus oxygen gets sulfur dioxide. But you should be in the class 11th you should be knowing for phosphorus also. When phosphorus reacts with oxygen, what we are getting is P4O10, phosphorus pentaoxide. If the oxygen is in excess, जैसे कार्बन से बनता है ना कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड एंड कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड, so if the oxygen is in excess, the phosphorus convert into P4O10. Okay, and for this the oxygen required will be obviously P4 plus 5O2. And for this, the delta H is equal to phosphorus black का है minus 250. ठीक है. Similarly, enthalpy of combustion, it's simple. Enthalpy of combustion means when 1 mole of a substance is completely burned in the presence of sufficient oxygen. So whether whatever allotrope I am taking of phosphorus, what I am getting is P4O10. जैसे क्वेश्चन हम कार्बन भी कर सकते हैं, कार्बन डायमंड एंड कार्बन ग्रेफाइट. कार्बन किसी भी फॉर्म में हो, whenever we are reacting it with oxygen, what we are getting is carbon dioxide. ठीक है. So this question can be for this also. Calculate for carbon diamond into carbon graphite. Question can be like this also. That is one allotrope is converting into another allotrope. Instead of phosphorus, it can be carbon also. And you would have been given the enthalpy of combustion of diamond and that of graphite. Like here we have given for that of phosphorus. Okay. And for this, the energy change, that is delta H is equal to minus 300 kilojoules. So how will you write this equation? Equation first, plus or minus? यहाँ पर phosphorus black reactants minus यहाँ पर minus equation 2. ठीक है. तो reactants let's add, subtract phosphorus black. मैं सीधे minus कर दूं. Should I do like this? Okay, that will be more easier. So when I am subtracting, then 5O2 get cancelled, P4O10 get cancelled. So यहाँ पर कुछ भी नहीं बचा, तो phosphorus black minus phosphorus red. So negative sign I can get there. So what I will be getting is phosphorus black converts into phosphorus red. And this we are also subtracting. So minus 250 plus 300, which is equal to 50 kilojoules. So this is the second application of Hess's law to calculate the enthalpy change during the allotropic transitions.
मैम यहाँ माइनस क्यों हुआ?
These were two equations, first and second, and using this equation I want is this equation. यहाँ पर आप देखोगे phosphorus black reactants में है, यहाँ पर लेकिन red आपको कहाँ चाहिए? Products में चाहिए, लेकिन यहाँ पर क्या है? Red reactants में है ना, तो इसको product में convert करने के लिए I have to change the sign. Sign change means minus.
ओके मैम.
है ना. वैसे भी देखो यहाँ पे हमें O2 तो नहीं चाहिए ना, हमें तो केवल ये दोनों ही चाहिए, तो this we have to subtract. Okay.
Yes मैम.
So okay, let me take one more easier question. Then Born-Haber cycle के ऊपर question होगी. Born-Haber cycle कल कराओगी. Okay, one easier question, just wait. Question is enthalpy of delta H combustion of carbon solid is minus 393.5. This is not from NCERT. Is minus 393.5 kilojoules per mole. Calculate the heat change. Easy question है. Calculate the heat change for formation of. Calculate the heat change for formation of 35.2 gram of carbon dioxide from carbon solid and O2 gas, from carbon and oxygen gas. Very easy question. One marker question only.
And that is 35.2, 36.2.
35.2. Yes. What is the meaning of enthalpy of combustion? Rishabh? Yeah, Rohan? What is the meaning of enthalpy of combustion, Rohan? I want to answer from others also.
Enthalpy of combustion means 1 mole of combustion.
Equation बता दो enthalpy of combustion of carbon solid की.
C plus O2 CO2.
C plus O2 CO2.
Okay, very good. So इसे इसका 1 mole, इसका 1 mole, इसका 1 mole. ठीक है. इसके आंसर गिवन है. This is minus 393.5. And you have to calculate when carbon plus oxygen are combining to form carbon dioxide. That is 35.2 grams. For this reaction, what is the delta change? This is my question. So how to calculate? It is a simple 9th class concept or chapter first concept, mole concept. Yes. What is the mass of carbon dioxide? Is मतलब 1 mark का question दिया मैंने. Carbon dioxide का molecular mass कितना था? 44 gram.
मैम 44 ग्राम हो जाएगा.
Okay. So for 44 gram of carbon dioxide, the heat change, the heat released is minus 343.5 kilojoules. और आपको किसके लिए निकालना है? 35.2 ग्राम.
मैम ये माइनस 393.5 किलो जूल होगा ना मैम.
अच्छा माइनस सॉरी मैं 3 उसको रीड गलत कर ले 393. ठीक है. तो इसके लिए है minus 393.5. तो for 35.2 ग्राम of carbon dioxide, what is the delta H heat change? 1 ग्राम के लिए आप निकाल सकते हो. 44 ग्राम के लिए इतना है तो 1 ग्राम के लिए कितना होगा? अपॉन 44.
Ma'am, is it
35.
110.5?
कितना? Answer. What is the answer?
110.5 आ रहा है.
110.5.
Yes, ma'am.
You can check. I think there's certain mistake. Just check again. इतना नहीं हो सकता आंसर. क्योंकि अगर मैं इसको कट भी करूंगी नो आंसर can't be this much. Answer will be around 300. Answer बताओ निकालो.
मैम 314.82.
मैम 278 280 के मैम आसपास होगा मैम उसका आंसर है.
ये देखो
283.
आंसर आ रहा है मेरे ख्याल से 314.8.
यस मैम यही आ रहा.
ठीक है किलो जूल्स. Okay, that's all for today. So tomorrow we will be आज तो केवल आपको recap basically कराया था. So I am just noting down the attendance and tomorrow I will be proceeding with more difficult topics.
Ma'am, can you please show the board once?
Isman, just wait for a second. I am just noting down the names of the absentee. Okay. Please revise that your exams will be early only. And hopefully it will be offline. COVID cases have started declining. So by Feb end, obviously, it will be offline exams. Okay? Theory as well as practical. According to me, it should be offline.
मैम what you have said मैम एक बार और बोल दो.
मैम I
मैम
believe
तो प्रैक्टिकल्स में हमारी जो एक क्लास हुई उसी की बेसिस पे होगा ना फिर हमारा प्रैक्टिकल भी.
फर्स्ट टर्म में ना फिर भी प्रैक्टिकल के अच्छे नंबर दे दिए थे, लेकिन मैंने सेकंड टर्म में देखा कि आप लोग सुधर ही नहीं रहे हो. हार्डली दोनों बैच को मतलब बुलाओ तो भी 10-12 बच्चे आ रहे हैं.
मैम बट क्लास तो हुई थी ना, आपने एक नया टॉपिक भी शुरू किया था, तो अगर होगा तो सिर्फ उसी के बेसिस पे होगा ना. आई मीन टर्म 1 का भी हो गया है दोबारा, दोनों इंक्लूड करके.
ठीक है, और कोशिश करेंगे और प्रैक्टिकल्स खींचेंगे अगर हो गया तो पॉसिबल. लेट्स सी द सिचुएशन.
मैम आपकी वॉइस ब्रेक कर गई थी शुरू में.
यस मैम.
शुरू में मतलब मैंने कहा लेट्स सी द सिचुएशन, बट ऑब्वियसली प्रैक्टिकल्स इन द प्रैक्टिकल्स टर्म 1 एंड टर्म 2 टुगेदर विल बी देयर.
ओके मैम.
You can leave now. Class over.
थैंक यू मैम.
थैंक यू मैम.
Thank you मैम.
thank you ma'am.